War Eagle, Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. We are back together on a Sunday evening for a live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast, episode 11. Myself, Kyle, co-host Austin. We're back in the saddle. Welcome, Austin.
Hey, thanks, War Eagle, everybody. What a fun weekend, fun week.
Was it really fun to start off the week, though?
It
Come on.
was fun in the sense of never dull. Just a whirlwind from the time we left you last, people. Basically, since then to now, it has been absolute whirlwind. So, tons to unpack and tons to talk about. Can't wait to see what everybody's saying tonight. And it was a crazy, crazy week.
Yeah,
No pun intended.
Literally. Maybe pun intended, just unintentionally for all
Sure.
of that. There's going to be a lot of discussion about that tonight. So let me set the groundwork for those of you that may be watching for the first time. This is a live recording of a podcast. We'll be starting in roughly 5 minutes. Right now, we're just going to spend some time maybe talking to you in the chat, answering some questions. Once we start recording the podcast, we'll give you that signal and put a notice down below. We probably won't interact much with the chat, but we will stay a few minutes after the recording, about 30 minutes of recording, to talk, hang out, and answer any other questions and comments that you guys might have. There is plenty to talk about tonight, as we already said. We addressed it on last week's episode that we anticipated this, which is why we went ahead and kind of talked a little bit about basketball this week. I am only wearing the basketball shirt because I figured this was going to be like the only mention of basketball that we'd have on this week.
And the season starts tomorrow. Like, it's crazy. We're not going to likely talk about it much, but it's what we were dealt.
It is. I mean, it's kind of the way we all saw it coming. It's pretty crazy that, you can just kind of see it coming at you like a freight train, and you're still not prepared for it because it's a crazy world being an Auburn fan out there. A couple reminders for you all before we kind of dive into a few more questions and comments from the chat. If you haven't, please do make sure you smash that like button right now. Use this as your check-in period of time. Post where you're watching from, city, state, international, all that good stuff. We want to know who's here, hanging out with us, talking with us, and watching the live stream tonight. And then we'll obviously at the end of the show, I'll give you guys some updates about the schedule for especially tomorrow. It's going to be a busy day tomorrow again. And maybe a little bit of preview of the rest of the week as we normally do towards the end of our show. So stay tuned for that. Oh, last reminder, I got to be better about this. We are in the middle of a subscriber giveaway, trying to reach that subscriber goal of 5,000 subscribers. We are almost at 3,000. So help us do that. If you have not subscribed, do that. It will enter you in to win a signed Auburn football as well as a prize package of various other items, details in the description. All right, Austin, let's see who's here. We got Linda checking in. War Eagle from PCB. It must be nice down there. Gotta love Cadillac and the energy and love he brings. Ooh, we're going to talk about that. So much of that tonight. Tatiana, similar feelings there as well, and saying hello. Joe checking in. Somebody else other than Kyle. Wow, that's nice. Listen, Corey, I can't remember. Were you on the live stream? We did one earlier today with a new guest, Matt Donaldson of the Jungle Podcast, and he was a little bit of new flavor for you guys. If you hate seeing me, I know Corey's just pulled my leg, but it still hurts, Corey. It still hurts. Linda asked, was that prevent defense on Mississippi State's last drive to tie the game? What do you think, Austin? Was it a prevent defense?
I don't know. Maybe on the last drive to tie the game. No, I don't necessarily think that's probably the plan. Now it might have turned out that way, but I mean, they know that the field goal is going to tie the game and keep the game going. Auburn knows that too. So it was just there's so much about the game that and I know it's natural for us all to do, and I've seen so much of it today that we analyze it just like every other game. But so much about that game was just so different because they had it was a staff doing things they've never done before on 3 days work, no sleep. And so, was it prevent defense? Was it meant to be? Was it not? I don't know. But it was just an unbelievable effort by the team regardless. So I don't know. I can't. We'll get into it. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
That's fine. I mean, obviously, she asked. We want to answer that a little bit. But listen, we can't analyze it to death, and probably there are things that we can probably say, I wouldn't have done that, but they just went through a week like no other, and I'm basically saying, you know what, just show up and look
Yep.
reasonable, which it didn't look like it was going to be the case at a certain point, and
Hmm.
I'm happy about it, man. Listen, it sucks to wake up this morning. I even woke up and told Jessica, I was like, I can't believe we were that close to winning that game. Like
I
I
know.
just it hurts not because we lost. It hurts because Caddy and the boys deserve that one.
They deserved it. Yeah. I told Emily like multiple times today, just like, I feel like we won, but I have to remind myself we didn't.
We didn't
Like I
win.
felt like we won, but we didn't. And
Yeah,
so it was absurd. And one specific thing, I just cannot. I've watched it like 100 times. I cannot believe because I don't think it was intentional. No matter what anyone says, I cannot believe that we have not seen it happen more often. That kicker just beans the front guy on the kickoff and it work out. I've
if
never seen that before.
if it
I've
was
tried to
any
do that on a video game and I can't.
if it was any other coach than Mike Leach, I would have said it was a complete accident, but that man's so crazy. I don't even
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. The aim though, your former kicker, Kyle, like
It's hard to do
to
that.
pull that off, yeah, crazy.
Now, I will say you could be told to do that, trying like the reality is you're probably not going to be able to pull that off, but he
Mhm.
could have actually been told, kick it, a squib kick it. You're probably going to just kick it down there to keep them from running it back.
Right.
But, if it hits somebody, it hits somebody. And you're like,
Mhm.
you got to be ready for that. And they were ready for it. So
It was
it
wild.
is what it is at this point. We're going to talk more in detail about like the ins and outs of the games tomorrow on our uh, grades and preview review show with Ben King, which will be an hour earlier. More on that in a little bit. So we are sitting right at about the time we want to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to get us rolling there. Again, as a reminder, we are not going to be taking if any at all, questions and comments while we record this podcast. But for about 30 minutes, you can listen to the discussion here, and then we'll stay with you after that to hang out and talk a little bit more after that. You ready, Austin?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. David Housel said it best: the whole of the Auburn experience. That includes firings, hirings, craziness, ups and downs, 3 days. It felt like 3 weeks at times this week, 3 days worth of practices, highs and lows, sorrows and joys, and of course, a little bit of Cadillac as well. What a week it was to address here on the Auburn Experience podcast. All about sports, all about our culture, all about our family. And one of my favorite Auburn family members, my co-host alongside me, Austin Scott, is back here on the show. Welcome back, Austin.
Where you go, everybody? Has it only been a week since we last were on this podcast, Kyle? Because the last 7 days have felt like you said, like 3 weeks, if not more.
I will say this. You and I spoke a lot off camera, and we talked about what could happen after we recorded episode 10
Right.
and the timing of everything. And, I remember saying to you, I'm just praying that they don't do this to me as a media person, fire slash interim slash AD all at once. And they did it within 24 hours of me saying that. I was not prepared for the level of craziness that would ensue throughout this entire week. But my goodness, we had reached a point of apathy in the football
Yeah.
season that we kind of got what we needed, just a little bit of
Yeah.
hype back in the roller coaster ride that is Auburn football. So as you may guess, folks, this episode, as we try to be really well balanced, is going to be heavy on that side of things. We're going to walk through the entire week that was of the Auburn experience, from the firing of Coach Brian Harsin to start off here and the naming of interim head coach Cadillac, to the AD hire, and dive into that for at least a segment and what it means going forward. And then finally, we're going to discuss maybe not necessarily the X and O's of that particular game that we just got done watching, Auburn versus Mississippi State, but the moral victories in a sense, the meaning behind it, what it, we're all feeling about it, All of that's here on this episode 11. So let's dive right into it, Austin. I don't even know how to start this. Like, I'm struggling because we all saw it coming,
Mm,
but I was kind of shocked with the timing of the schedules went out for the week of media appearances. You want to keep up appearances, right? As an athletic department, Coach Harsin was scheduled out the entire week. And then about Monday, 11:30, between 11:30 and 12, give or take a time zone, there's the news coming across my desk. And then obviously it just flowed out onto social media. Shocked, not shocked. What's your reaction to that at the time? I know that's a million years ago at this point, but what was your reaction?
yeah, I mean, like you said, that I was at work. That's exactly about the same time it hit for me. It was shock just because of what we've said before, and the entire world has said this was probably the worst kept secret. This was probably happening at any time. It was shock just because it was like, oh, it's happened and it's gone. Like here, we're in it now. Monday morning, we've started off the week, and Brian Harsin has been fired as Auburn's head coach. And so I think it was shock from that reason only. Like there was kind of no, and that's just how things happen with this, right? Like there was no heads up. There was no kind of general sense of, like everyone thought maybe the bye week, right? Like it was like that would be a time that could make some sense. And when that didn't happen, it was like, well, maybe he's staying the whole year. And so when it came Monday morning after that Arkansas loss, it was like, all right, well, here we go. And so
Mhm.
um, it was shock, but not too much of the actual firing itself,
Yeah.
for me at least.
The timing was just intriguing to me and the decision making process. And, depending on what story you subscribe to about the timing of everything, it seemed to be kind of one of those things that was made just all of a sudden and the ball just not that there
Right.
wasn't forethought into it, but it was like someone just decided to flip the switch and said, all right, we got to do this now. Because like I said, the schedules had been made, sent out maybe for just appearances, but I will tell you, it's ironic. The schedules that I got already for this week were way earlier than the ones that I got last week. So maybe that tells you a little bit, but we're also super excited for Cadillac's week coming up here. Um, Here's what I'll say about the firing. And I've said this on our YouTube channel in other formats that I've been on other YouTube shows this week as well, talking about all of this. My heart goes out to Coach Harsin, his family, his staff, even the ones that are gone, and his players that are still here, because this was just a week like no other for them. And we're going to get into the good side of that week like no other here towards the end of the podcast. But I I hate that it didn't work out, because in my heart, in my mind, the best possible scenario was for it to get figured out and for it to go forward. However, you have to prove some concept of got to be a proof of concept. And I don't think that there was enough there to fight this. I'm not someone that's ever going to advocate for a firing outside of moral, ethical issues for under 4 years of time. But you don't see me pitching a fit about this one. That's kind of where I stand on this one. It's not that I was happy about it. It's not that I'm upset about it. It's just kind of like, I just understand. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you hit on it earlier when you said that there was just a level of apathy. And I think that's where a lot of people were, and maybe didn't even realize that level of apathy until it had come and gone, right? Until we got to this past weekend and that game. And so I think that's where I was at too, is it was just like, where this doesn't feel like Auburn, and it doesn't feel like what I'm used to with Auburn. And it really wasn't even tied to the success or failure. It was just a weird feeling that was very foreign to the rest of us. And so um, I completely echo your statements. And it's easy for people to say, well, he's getting $15 million. He sure is. But whether it was this week, whether it was, or it'll be in December or before, there will be people that will not get that much money. And I'm not just talking coaches, there'll be a numerous amount of support staff that were hired by Brian Harsin, and a new coach is going to be brought in, and it's going to be their way at that point, and those people will have to find jobs. Those people don't get millions of dollars. They're back out looking for their own job as well. And so the effects of this on families, including Brian Harson's, including Eric Keesaw's, and the coaches that were fired, but also extending to different people in the athletic department is never fun. And so I completely echo that. And I do hope Brian Harson lands on his feet somewhere. And I think this was a learning experience for him and for Auburn throughout the whole situation. We haven't mentioned his statement. I thought his statement was well thought out. I would hope that it would be these people have great people in place to write these statements, and I don't doubt that he had input into that statement. And so it was high class, and I hope that he lands on his feet going forward, and I do hope he gets another job because I think he will. There's going to be a lot of people who chalk this up to fit, and we've heard that a lot. And I
Right.
think that's going to be the case, and I do think that maybe out further west he'll be able to land another job, and I would not be surprised at all if he's successful there.
Well, according to some people, it was not very classy in a statement, but I think those people are probably just looking for reasons to be upset again. So we won't go much further than that. But I saw some of the reaction that was not surprising in whatsoever, and that's a pretty sad statement about that. So I won't go any further though. But let's talk about the flip side of that. Now, obviously, and we're gonna again, I alluded in episode 10 that we're gonna have plenty to talk about this week because we knew it was coming. We know what's coming with a coaching search. So I know that's where everybody's focus mainly goes. But let's talk about the a naming of an interim head coach and more about the game. I know I keep alluding to that at the end of the podcast here. Coach Carnell Cadillac Williams as your interim head coach. Did you, in your wildest dreams, forget this situation and how it
Sure,
happened?
sure.
Did you, in your wildest dreams, Austin, ever think you'd hear those words?
No, never. And it was, it almost not even like 15 minutes after the firing is confirmed. That's what we're all wondering, right? Who's interim? Who is it going to be? Are they going to give it to Zach? Are they going to give it to Cadillac? Or is it going to be somebody else? And, it took several hours for, the players and parents of players to all figure out. And the news came out. And I mean, it was like someone flipped the switch. And suddenly you've got everybody, whatever side you're on, whether you wanted them gone 6 weeks ago, you weren't ready to make a firing yet, or you just kind of were in the middle somewhere. At that point, everybody's like, Coach Cadillac Williams is going to have a chance to be the head of Auburn football for 4 games. Uh, and it was beyond exciting because that's someone we can all relate to, right? That's someone
Mhm.
who understands the Auburn experience, like we try and talk about so much, and who has lived through it in a numerous amount of ways as a player, as a student, as a graduate, and as a coach now. Um, just bonkers. And I can't not be excited for him. And like you said, we keep hinting at the outward expression of that excitement that we saw, that we'll get into with the game. But I still can't believe that Cadillac is the interim head coach of the Auburn Tigers. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's still trying to believe it himself.
I don't think he believes it still. You can just look at the way he reacts and press conferences and questions he's getting. And just, I don't think it's fully hit him yet, even as
No,
busy as he has
no.
been, the responsibilities that have been laid upon him. More to come in that discussion, but just wanted to get the initial firing and interim naming part of this week out of the way. We'll continue that discussion now with the next part of the news, a hiring after the firing, an official hiring. Eh, Austin, in my mind, I listen, don't make the decisions for a reason because I'm not paid enough to do that. First of all, not that they want me making decisions because we wouldn't be in this decision anyway, if I keep reiterating that. The AD situation, in my mind, should have been in place officially before this. Now, there's always the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we're not privy to. And the news all throughout the weekend, even before the firing of Brian Harsin started coming across the airwaves, was that John Cohen of Mississippi State was going to be the AD, but nothing official came through. And we even tweeted out that, listen, there's nothing official yet. And it seems like there's some things that still need to be worked out. which proved to be true. But come a whirlwind of a day after a firing, after a naming of an interim, the last bit of news that they just decided to drop on everybody. Oh, by the way, folks, you've got a new athletic director, John Cohen of Mississippi State, defecting on the game week to the other side. Your thoughts and reactions about the news, anything that just stuck out to you when you first saw that come across the social media or the news?
Sure. I mean, it was all but official, right? For like 72 hours or 48 hours after it all kind of broke on Saturday. It was looking like it was headed that way. I thought that it would be. I did well. Let me rephrase that. I didn't think that it would be a simultaneous kind of announcement, but I thought that maybe that would be a way they would go. Um, and so I was kind of surprised that it just ended the day with it. But you know, it didn't really surprise anyone at that point either. It looks like there's an official press conference this upcoming Tuesday, I believe,
Yep, that's correct.
which will be good. It's very odd to me that he's on the job a week pretty much before an official press conference. But I get what the week was crazy as it is. We don't need to add any more, right? And so good for him. I hope people are excited about it. I'm excited about it. Um, it kind of looks like it's a pattern of, all right, we went outside the box with an AD before. Now we're getting a guy who's been in this league for forever, longer
Yeah.
than most of us have been alive. So um, it's going to be, I think it'll be good. And I'm excited about it under his leadership. And he's got quite the job ahead of him. Um, but it was very interesting that on an absolutely crazy day where Auburn got so many headlines and so much in the news nationally. Oh, let's just throw some more gasoline on the fire and keep that flame burning.
Well, and I hate it for him too because, you feel like this is news that's worthy of spending, a day on itself because it's such an all-encompassing job. This is, obviously football is king and we're going to spend most of our energy and excitement or disappointment on that. But the AD affects everything for Auburn athletics. And it's the first part of our mantra here on the Auburn Experience podcast, sports, culture, family. So that's going to be such a big hire, and you want to find the right thing, much like with the football hire that's going to be coming up officially soon. This can't be messed up this time. Not that Alan Green was a mess up. We've talked about him and how much, some good things that he left here with, whether that was on good terms or not. I, I guess for me, I was trying to kind of take a step back and not just assume like I get accused of being a sunshine pupper all the time that, oh, this is a great hire. I wanted to kind of really take a look. So I actually reached out to several people and just asked their opinions about different aspects because I assumed they would be different perspectives on, say, baseball and things like that. Just trying to, what do you think about this truly? Like, what's the benefit out of this? So when I hear your initial statement about it, Austin, it sounds to me like you are happy about the AD hire.
I am. I think that there's a lot to benefit from this of someone who's been around the SEC for a long time, who's oversaw large
Words are hard.
facility. I mean, we don't claim to be scholars here. Lots of facility upgrades, big facility upgrades in a school that has similarities to Auburn. Is the more agricultural school of the two in the state, is not necessarily the state school per se.
Right.
And so I think that it's really interesting, and I think that it'll help Auburn athletics overall as a whole. That doesn't mean that, oh, well, now football is going to take a back seat. It's not. It's not going to at Auburn. It just is not going to happen. So I think that he's gonna add a lot of things, and the one thing we haven't mentioned that I think it was an absolutely fantastic job as his first directive as athletic director is to bump
Yep.
Rich McGlynn up to number 2,
Yep.
because
Yep.
Rich McGlynn wanted to be here. It was widely said with if Rich McGlynn isn't named the full-time AD, he still wants to be at Auburn, and he deserves to get that pay raise and that title raise that he did, and so that's fantastic. That is absolutely amazing news in my opinion, because in a time where it is as crazy as it is at Auburn, you have Rich McGlynn, who's been here for the better part of almost 2 decades, to help him ease into it. Here are the people you need to meet. Here's how kind of things are been kind of done here. here's kind of how you can get your feet wet. So I'm pumped for it. I really am. I don't care, honestly. I really don't care about the whole thing of, well, Mississippi State was trying to push him out. Why did we get sloppy seconds? Even if that's true, I really don't care if that's the case, because it doesn't, what one situation at one school means doesn't mean it's going to be the exact same situation at another school. And
Mhm.
maybe what John Cohen had at Mississippi State wasn't the best fit for both parties, but maybe what Auburn has will be the better fit. And so I hate that that got a whole narrative around itself, because it wasn't fair to John Cohen and it wasn't fair to Auburn or Mississippi State, because now Mississippi State's in the same seat as trying to find their own athletic director, and they don't want to be known as someone who's
Right.
pushing a legend out at their own school who played and coached there. So I am excited about it. I really, really do think that it's a great hire, and I love that he promoted Rich McGlynn, Director of Compliance, up to
Mhm.
Deputy Associate AD, because I think both of them as a team will work so well together with their vast experience and knowledge.
A couple things that you said in there I want to kind of park on for a second. First of all, I love that you brought up the whole Mississippi State acting like they didn't want him narrative. When is the last time? Just look, we're both married now, but let's talk about in dating. When's the last time that you didn't act like you weren't bothered by your ex? Right? Listen, they go
Yeah,
off and date somebody else, and you're like, oh, I didn't want that anyway, kind of thing. So
exactly.
I see Mississippi State fans act. It's let me be a little real honest with you, Auburn fans. It's like all you boys out, and well, I'll say everybody, but that get on Bo Nix, and every chance he doesn't do something exactly right over at Oregon, you jump on him, acting like you don't want him. You want him, you just won't ever admit it. Anyway, I'm trying to like keep myself in check tonight. I keep going that to that level, and I need to bring it back down. It's been a good week, Kyle. Cadillac's interim coach, get it together. Okay, so with that being said, we ain't got nobody sloppy seconds. This could be
Yeah.
just a fit thing. So I also don't want to sit here and act like it was the greatest hire, but I think the main points that you talked about are big pros for me. He's an SEC guy. Other than that, he is a baseball guy. He's a former head baseball coach, championship baseball coach, who's the former mentor of our current almost championship
Yes.
baseball coach. Baseball should feel really good about their position now. Bruce is secure.
Absolutely.
That's going to be good. Football is going to come back, folks. I know it doesn't feel like it. And this is a guy that's had experience, I think, with every sport except for gymnastics and equestrian. I may have missing one or two, but I'm pretty sure on those two, that's correct. So you should feel really good about all of this. Someone who's experienced, Southern, SEC experience, probably got a little bit the same culture about us. The more I sit on this hire, I like it. Now, that's the initial thing, right? When we had Alan Green come in, we were kind of like, well, that's interesting. Let's give it a try.
Right.
I didn't agree with everything Alan Green did, but what I do agree with is that he locked up Bruce Curl. Bruce Curl. Who is Bruce Curl?
He's our future curling head coach.
That feels like a meme that's going to be used now. Presenting to you, Bruce
Tomorrow
Curl.
night, folks, Bruce Curl. After
Bruce
we beat
Pearl
George
is
Mason.
Bruce Pearl is also locked up for life along with Bruce Curl. So I want to sit back and watch this guy work and give him some time. Listen, there's no tougher task than to be your first a big job at Auburn to hire a head coach. I think the first hire and firing for Allen was the volleyball coach. So it's kind of a different
Yeah.
world. No offense to volleyball. We've been talking them up a lot this year, but John Cohen, we're happy to have you. We hope that this gets off to a much more smooth start than your first week. He's been going around making, his appearances at all the different events and stuff like that. And yes, his press conference is coming up this week. That maybe by the time you listen to this podcast, this already happened. My heart goes out to him for what he's got to do in terms of making a hire at football head coach. I don't want to be that decision
It's
maker.
it's a big job, and, like, it's very likely President Roberts, during the interview process, he knows, this is kinda what we've decided. Just so you know, this job, this is what you're gonna be tasked with,
Yep.
off the bat. And so, I think that says something too, that that's a challenge he was willing to take on. And, why wouldn't you? Get to make your own stamp on a program. There's no doubt he'll have plenty of opinions thrown his way, and insight that he'll listen to and or not listen to. So, I am excited about it. I really think it's gonna be, good for Auburn as a whole. That includes football, and, I'm just, yeah, on just a very specific note, I'm excited with regard to facilities. That Davis Wade Stadium used to be, I was there when they didn't
A high
horseshoe it,
school
and
stadium.
it was literal
Sure.
bleachers in the end zone where the band
Yes,
was. Like, what you're thinking of riser bleachers, folks, like, if you've been to a high school game, that's what the band was on. That place now looks really good. They've
it
got it
does.
horseshoed, and I'm not just saying that like, "Oh, well, what can we expect for him to do at Jordan-Hare Stadium?" I hope he does make some needed renovations to Jordan-Hare Stadium, and we give it a little bit of a facelift. But, that also means he's coming in now. We talked about with baseball. Baseball is getting huge upgrades coming up soon.
Yep.
Bruce Pearl's been promised he's going to get that new indoor facility and get his own area. That's coming up soon. So I'm excited for him to kind of get his hands in that, kind of dabble in that, and take it one more further step.
He walks into an opportunity at Auburn where there's a lot of things already in motion that he can kind
Right.
of put the final stamp on, but there's also an
Yes.
opportunity for him as well to make his mark with a football hire.
Absolutely.
All I got to
Absolutely.
say is good luck to you, sir.
Good
Good
luck.
luck. Let's talk about our last subject tonight, and we've been hinting at this throughout the entire podcast that we're going to dive into this in more detail. Let me start off by using this phrase that has been overdone this week, admittedly, but one more time. Go crazy, Cadillac. Go crazy. You are the interim head coach leading the Tigers into Mississippi State. Now, listen, no moral victories here. Not acting like, we were gypped of a game. There was some of that last night on the post-game live stream, which, it's funny. One game, everybody's like, don't make excuses. The next game, everybody's like, make excuses. It's interesting. That man, I love that man so much. If you follow me on Twitter, as a Kyle Loomis 24. It's not a shock. Also, I realized today as I was thinking about how many people have 24 that are Auburn fans in their like Twitter handles and things and email addresses. Clint AU24. I had a couple others and I'm blanking on them now, but it's a common theme.
Mm.
There's a reason that Cadillac Williams holds a very special place in Auburn people's hearts. It's not just because the man was one of the best running backs that we've ever had, but because of him coming back to us. That says a lot. And we could make the same statement for Jason Campbell, for
Mm.
Ronnie Brown, for Stan White. When players, for Pat Dye, for staying in town after you're fired, can we just I keep talking about that video that they made at homecoming, and when they did the line, some of us stay or some of us never left, and showed Pat Dye. Dagnabbit, Auburn video. I don't like it when you make me cry. I also don't like it when you get me in my feels the entire week posting, just reposting a video, but
Yeah.
putting him at the very end of it.
Yes.
Thanks.
Just and even the one of him talking about the ball and his story, that that wasn't even new content, folks, but how much of a different meaning does it all take on now?
Yeah.
And just oh man, it was just great.
I think the former content creator is now at Texas, who led all of this stuff, who was actually over that video when it was made. And he saw all the hype about it and said, he puts the message out after he sees all the hype. He says, what if I told you that the kids in the
Mhm.
video are Cadillac's kids? When he said that, I said, I can't even deal with this anymore. I have no more walls that I can run through. I have no more just feelings that I can give this week because Coach Cadillac Williams is my interim head coach. And look, folks, we went into Mississippi State and looked awful in that first quarter, really the whole first half. I thought it was going to be a miserable time. Cadillac was having fun the entire time. But how cool of a story that man led us, that staff under his leadership, those boys under his leadership came back, were in position to win the game, and it just wasn't in the cards for them that night. I'm going to keep just rambling if you don't stop me. So what
Yeah.
do you want to
No.
say about that? All the game, him, his coaching, all that.
I mean, from the beginning, if you just go, well, we could just go back to the SEC teleconference. You knew he was excited, and you knew he was the SEC coaches teleconference. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, you knew he was excited. and you knew he understood the magnitude of the opportunity he'd been given. And it was kind of like I fully believed him 100%, but it was like, of course, like, yes, like, I'm so glad that he sees that as value. Then you get all the way, they work their tails off all week, hardly any sleep, and you get all the way to Saturday night, and we've seen the videos, we've seen him talking about what Auburn did for him growing up, and we see the video of the kids and him, lifting his head with the hat. And then you get all the way to it's game time now. And pregame, he's talking with Cole Kubelik of SEC Network and can barely even answer the question because he's emotional. And it's like, this guy gets it, you know? Like, and it was at that point where I was like, it doesn't matter what happens in this game.
Mhm.
But and even at halftime where it's like, okay, it was a hard week. What did we really expect? We expect them to fight, and they were. But then you go all the way through the game, and they fought their tails off, and had a chance to win it, and he's still just as amazed at the fact that he's the Auburn interim head coach. And so it's hard for me to even put into words the fact that Cadillac Williams is the interim head coach, and he just gets it. That's the only thing I could keep saying is he just gets it. He understands what this job means, what that logo means on the helmet, and what it means to be an Auburn man. And it was just exciting to watch his excitement. And I just felt like it was the jolt we all needed. Watching him be excited was like, oh wow, I'm ready to go. Put me in if you need me. We had walk-on linebackers in. I'm ready to go if I need to. I'll get run over. So it was just bizarre. It was so bizarre, and I'm absolutely pumped for this staff to get a full week of preparation of kind of a more normal routine and lifestyle to prepare for a game because their energy honestly kept them in it and kept the kids fighting, like for them to have the week they did and to put out that kind of performance speaks to the level of leadership I think he displayed and the level of energy and passion that he was able to show. How great was that before going into half of saying we're either going to fight or we're going to quit and we're not going to quit. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what they did is not quit and make it a game. That was when they're down 18, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. Uh, gosh, I was so amped for it. The most amped I've been for a game and during the game all year, and that is a rarity for me. You can ask my wife. I'm normally an absolute nuisance to deal with during Auburn games. I was jumping on my couch and running around my kitchen. Just that's something, and a lot of people said we haven't had that kind of feeling this season.
Mhm.
And I'm not attributing that to Brian Hardison specifically. I'm not attributing that to anyone. It's just been that kind of season where it's been like we've said apathy, just like exhausted. And it took Cadillac Williams being interim head coach to kind of give us that jolt back, one of our own, and that it makes it just all the more sweeter.
Uh, there was a few moments that I did laps around my house. It's been a minute since I've done that.
Yeah,
I honestly think it was probably the Bo Nix Oregon game. Maybe no, it wasn't that long ago, but that's the last time I know I just literally flipped my lid when Tank Bigsby just broke loose. The problem
yeah,
was I was coming up here to set up to get ready for a post game show, no matter what happened, and Tank runs for the touchdown. And Jessica's behind me actually where she was watching it. And she's, well, I guess Auburn did something. And I'm like, yes, they did. Just screaming at the top of my lungs. And couldn't have happened to a better guy. I don't know Cadillac. I got a picture behind me for if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, obviously you'll just have to imagine it. And I've been pointing to it all week. Um, you think a lot of your heroes that you idealize them and they don't always live up to that. It's funny today, even at church, the preacher today used Michael Jordan in a sermon and used it kind of in an unfortunate way for him, talking about he's this great basketball player. He's the best of all time, but he's not had a really great reputation as a person. And then you look at Cadillac and you see his reaction to this week,
mm,
holding back emotions in every press conference, believing these guys are not going to quit. They actually come out and do that. How do you not love How do you not love Cadillac Williams? I haven't found a single person that's said that. I'm sure there's somebody out there. For the very first time this season, I can definitively say the Auburn family is unified behind
Yeah.
Cadillac Williams. And that's all it took was number 24.
No, and it feels that way. Like you said, I'm sure there's people nitpicking about certain lineups, certain matchups, whatever, certain
I
usages
will
of
come
timeout.
find you. I will
I
come find you and run over I will channel Ronnie Brown and Hummer over your butt if I catch you talking bad about Cadillac right now.
Kyle's gonna find a Cadillac and come hit you with it.
I will ride in a Cadillac with Cadillac and find a Hummer then and run over you. That's not me advocating for violence, by the way. That's just me being figurative. People don't get that these days. But anyway,
we're gonna get flagged if
you
we're
have to
not
like
careful.
say these things these days because people don't know how to take a joke. Anyway,
But
go ahead.
like you said, it was everybody was just truly excited, and it wasn't even that level that, Auburn kinda gets made fun of, which is just dumb to me anyway, but it wasn't even that level of, "Well, War Eagle anyway." It wasn't even that level. It was like everyone was genuinely excited. And gosh, Kyle, I wanted them to win for so many reasons, but I wanted to go to Toomer's Corner so bad last night. And it just didn't happen, but I can't be any more excited than I am for this upcoming week.
Mm.
And I just want to go back to one thing you said about Cadillac as a person, because there's something that I didn't pick up on until this morning when I woke up and someone sent it to me, is the press conference after the
Yep,
game.
I know where you're going.
And you know, I don't know how I'm just gonna get into it. Is the fact that when Cadillac Williams brings up after the game, the fact that on Friday night they had chapel and 8 men gave their lives to Jesus Christ. For an Auburn man to say that after his first game as the head coach speaks just absolute volumes to me.
Mhm.
And that's someone that I want, no matter for how long or how short, that I want leading my football program. And I think that in so many ways, that itself is a major part of it for me, and I know for Kyle,
Mhm.
and for what we believe. But that is just the core compass or core of the entire ball of why Cadillac Williams was the perfect choice for this short amount of time or longer to lead Auburn's football program. He just gets it. I'm going to say that a million times. He just gets it on the field. It sounds like he gets it off the field, which means volumes to me. And I could not have been more excited with how the entire event went. When you look at how the week started to where we are right now, I could not be more excited for what happened. I wish we could have won. Gosh dang it. I really wish we could have won the game for him. But it was just an absolute amazing thing to hear about the kind of energy and the kind of culture change that's already happened in 5 sleep-deprived days of Cadillac Williams' leadership.
Yep. I don't know what else I can say to add to that. I mean, well said, sir. I agree with everything that you said there. There are things that are more important than football. I know that's a shocking thing and a shocking revelation to some, but it is, whether you agree with our beliefs or not. But that speaks volumes to me. But it goes even beyond that. I love Cadillac Williams, and if there was ever a doubt in my mind after this week, you will always be my favorite Auburn football player. On that note, we will round out our show because there's going to be plenty more feel-good stuff, I'm sure, after his first game as a head coach in Jordan here coming up this week. Super excited for that. So more on episode 12 for that one coming up. As we leave you on the Auburn Experience podcast, please do make sure that you hit us up on social media if you want to continue the conversation. You can find me on Twitter at Kyle Loomis24 for a reason, by the way. Where can they find you, Austin?
At Austin G. Scott. I'm taking considerations of adding 24 to the end of it. But
You
at
better.
Austin G. Scott on anything and everything. Hey, there's time for you to make your plans to get to Jordan Hare Stadium next Saturday, folks.
Get there, folks.
You don't want to miss it.
You don't want to miss this one. Even if you can't get in the game, you want to be at Tiger Walk. It's going to be a fun one. With that being said, episode 11 of the Auburn Experience podcast is in the books. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle, everybody.
All right. That is the show, guys. We'll stick around for a little bit with everybody that's still here. Answer any questions or comments that you guys might have about what we talked about. Anything that we didn't talk about. Auburn tests my Christianity sometimes. Listen, I get the sentiment behind that. I guess a little bit. Maybe it tests the values that you may have with that. I say some things sometimes during those moments, during Auburn sporting events, that probably could be better done. And thankfully, it wasn't done in public. Alan says, I miss Coach Tubb and Pat Dye. Don't we all? We miss Pat Dye for him not being with us anymore. We still got Tubbs. He's just doing something over there in Washington. Poor Tubbs. I feel bad for him on a daily basis, what he's putting up with over there in the in the swamp, so to speak. Devin says, another great show. Really wish I could go this weekend. Devin, I'm sad for people like you that live so far away that you can't make a snap decision to come and without spending some money. It's going to be fun. I mean, I'm assuming you've got tickets, Austin.
Oh, I can't wait. I have a friend from college that we try to make it where he comes with us once a year, and we decided long ago this would be the one. I just told him, I said, you knew something because you picked the best one of the year to come to. And I don't even say that to know. I hope when people say like, oh, you got to get there because it's not to say, oh, we're going to beat A&M 50-0. I have no idea what's going to come on the field, and I truly don't care because I think that it will be absolutely fantastic under the lights, early November, and Cadillac Williams is running out the tunnel first. So just get there because it's going to be absolutely amazing.
So think about it this way. If you guys have any ideas in the chat, share them. As I addressed during the show, it's not old yet, but it is like being overused, overdone, go crazy, Cadillac, go crazy. If they don't do it in some way as he comes running out, it feels like it's a disappointment, but you also wonder if they can do something a little bit different. I don't know. Listen, Auburn video team, I've talked about them 1,000 times. They do great work. Devin said earlier about how the basketball team's doing some great hype videos. I just saw the new one they put out as well right before the show. You haven't watched it yet?
I haven't heard that. No, they put out another one.
Another hype video. They are hyped.
They're ready to go. I'm sure.
Last week was the just exhibition hype. This is the real hype. It was in the same vein as having a former player from football come back and walk across thing and speak some. Yeah. So it was Bryant Smith, who's now unpaid assistant. Yep, on the staff, and got to say what it meant to him and all that kind of stuff.
I think. I mean, they're gonna have one. Like, let's just put aside what they should do. They're gonna have to do another video because you can't have the Brian Harsin in the jungle greenery video, like
unless they do that whole start it and then they do that little static and then it's like cuts out to just Cadillac the play happening.
Sure. Yeah, you could, but they're gonna have to do something different, and so I'm very excited. They've had I would hope because those people have been busy too, I'm sure, trying to figure out what they're gonna do. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm really excited for that part of it specifically.
Right. This was brought up a little bit earlier while we were talking, asking about specifically Rich McGlynn, now deputy AD. So literally that is the last. I don't even know if they officially have that role listed as a normalcy, but this is what you give to somebody who can't rise up to the head position, but you want to keep them. And so it's like, for instance, I used to work at a zoo. We had a person that wanted to be the zoo director, but didn't want to leave, and so we just named them deputy director. So they're basically they probably get some more responsibilities, but that's associate AD. Was that his title before?
He was
compliance
executive associate AD for compliance. Was his job before interim. So yeah, he is the number 2, bar none, now as deputy athletic director. And it is a move up, and he's over a little bit more than just compliance. But it was executive associate AD was the official title.
And what I see of this, and I'm just speculating here, just kind of talking about Rich a little bit more, and John Cohen now, is this kind of not necessarily splits the task of an AD because they always have help with different areas, right? But what it does is maybe allows John time, because I don't, I don't know what Rich's plans are. John just got here. He's probably not going to be leaving anytime soon, I would think. If Rich wants to stay, he'll probably, stay a few years at least, I would think. But it gives John time to acclimate into everything here, and gives him time to more focus on the hirings, all important one, the facilities, business, the big business side of an athletic department, while the minutia, the compliance, the legal stuff, the
Mhm.
recruiting league, all of that is probably going to be more in Rich McGlynn's basket. And so, yes, it does take some of that weight off of John, at least for a small while, as long as we can keep Rich happy. If we can keep them both happy and they do a great job, I'm happy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it shows. I think Rich wanted to be here in some capacity. I think he would have loved the interim or the a full-time job, but um, I'm very glad he's staying. I think he's an incredible asset. You heard Bruce Pearl make a statement about it. A lot of these coaches have known Rich for a while, and so I'm glad he's staying for
Yep.
sure. And I can't. I mean, we never mentioned this, but I mean,
Yeah.
I had two. It was very hard for me to watch both at the same time.
um,
I was struggling.
Jessica had it on her phone while I was paying attention to the game, and so she kind of kept me filled into what was going on. And I was like, "Look, I can't even." I said, "My heart's about to get wrenched out by this team, my team. I think I can't take another disappointment, so I can't even watch. Like, if I don't watch it, it doesn't exist in my mind." So, obviously, Alabama took their second loss of the year. Do you think that keeps them out of the playoffs?
I think it makes it really hard. Really, really. I don't know.
I just,
As much as I hate it, and if anyone can do it, or if anyone can be still got get in that way, it's going to be them. But I with the way things are shaping up, I don't. It's going to make it really hard on them.
it is.
They're going to be playing for style points here the rest of the way, which isn't
Uh,
too good for us. But
yeah, it's yeah. I don't want to get my hopes up that this has eliminated them, because I think it's just gonna. And Corey brings up their rank number 11, but that's the AP
AP,
coaches poll.
yeah,
You
we'll
know,
see tomorrow night. If they drop them big, then yeah, I think
is
they're
it
gone.
Tuesday or Monday night they do it?
I'm sorry, Tuesday. That's
I
right.
I
I'm sorry,
I,
Tuesday.
I didn't know. I was curious because I was like, did it switch or did I? Uh,
Click Corey's other comment because that got me.
yeah. Listen. I don't talk about formerly working at a zoo a lot, and not that I'm ashamed of it. I love that part of my life, and in some ways, I wish that had worked out differently. I love doing this. That's why I'm doing this now. But there's always you always say those phrases. You can take the keeper out of the zoo, but you can't take the zoo out of the keeper. So I
Yeah.
guess you are right, Corey, that I brought the zoo here. And yes, it is a zoo sometimes with some of y'all. I mean, let me tell you. We got a couple more comments and questions here. I would be hesitant about making it all about Cadillac. I imagine he wants to keep it about the team, but it's just me. Can't wait to see them what they come up with. So I agree, and I think Cadillac agrees with that sentiment too, based on how he's conducted himself in a very busy but yet short time. But the marketing team knows what's going to sell, and I think Cadillac will understand that to some degree. It's not going to be all about him, but they're going to have to make some short segment ready to
Yeah.
get that place just rocking. Texas
Yeah.
A&M ain't having a good year. They about to have we don't know how the game's go, but they not going to have an easy time with
Oh,
the energy that's going to be in there.
they could not have. I mean, that Jimbo's got to be just so upset. Like, you got to be kidding me. I've already
Uh,
dealt with this and losing to App State. I've dealt with the flu. I've dealt with all these other issues where all my recruits I bought aren't working out. And now I got to go into Auburn where their beloved child is the head coach. Great. Just
Yep.
great.
It's the perfect storm for the
It
$1 million
sure is.
man. Don't want to go away without mentioning this, as Devin said, volleyball team. It's gotten a little bit of a slump of sorts of late, but 2 big wins over Tech. They got the Texas A&M week started off great, sweeping them in 2
Mm-hmm.
matches this weekend. I know it technically was last week. It depends on when you assume the week starts, Sunday or Monday. But for me, it's kind of like the kickstart to Texas A&M weekend. Auburn Elvis, who's here on the network, pointed out that this is Texas A&M week, equestrian on Friday, which I believe I will be making an appearance at. I don't know how, maybe very brief, very busy weekend ahead. By the way, anybody got a ticket to this game on Friday nights? Anybody? Bueller, I need one. Like,
I thought you already had yours. I thought you
mm-mm.
said you jumped early and went ahead and
I
got 'em.
went to go purchase the tickets and they were out already.
No.
Yep.
I'll
So
be on the lookout.
I need help. Help. I need to be in Auburn. Neville
W
Arena. What am I doing?
Wait,
Um,
are you talking about what games are you talking about?
for the basketball game. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I thought you meant the football game.
Oh no, football game. Yes, got it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You mean tomorrow or on Friday? The
Friday night
basketball game.
for Friday night
I
for
see.
Texas Southern. Is it Texas Southern or is it South
I think
Florida?
so. Yeah,
I
South
think,
Florida. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I understand now.
I need South Florida tickets, folks. I need to be in there, but
I'll be
tickets
there
are.
tomorrow night. I'll be at George Mason tomorrow night.
I'm excited for that one.
I'm
Speaking of which,
excited
here,
too.
let me use this, and we'll take maybe a few more comments and questions and head out here. But let me, since we mentioned it, let's go ahead and remind you guys tomorrow of the schedule. A little bit different with crazy season of seasons colliding and stuff like that. We will do a review show, position grade show for this with Ben King. It's going to be a little bit more fun one to do, but that's tomorrow at 7. Do not forget that 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 Central, as opposed to that 8 o'clock start time. So an hour earlier because the game starts at 7 Central. So we're going to do that. Immediately after the game, we will do a post-game reaction show for George Mason versus Auburn. Don't miss it. Those are usually a lot of fun. Probably will give the Booster Club members the opportunity to call in, even though it will be a late night. I usually do that when I'm in studio for post-game reaction shows to give them a little extra something on the side. And check out all the description links for ways that you can help support our content, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss that giveaway we're doing on the journey to 5,000 subscribers. You got to leave a comment as well in any eligible video. Just check out the link description for that. Gives you all the details, rules, stipulations, all that stuff. All right. Final comments and questions. Get those in here so we can get Austin to bed. Let's see. Can you imagine being beat by half of a team on your resume? By half of a team. Oh, I guess he's talking about how Auburn's lost a lot of people. I guess that's what he's getting at.
Half a team, half a staff.
Yeah. I
Either
mean,
one, I
more
guess.
really a half a staff, like literally.
One thing that really and we didn't really hit on it in the game, and I guess you and Ben will talk about it a good bit, is the whole like play call sheet thing. Have you looked into that much?
Mm-mm.
Like Will Friend was calling plays as offense coordinator yesterday. Now had to
Right.
step into that role as Eric Kiesel was removed. And so they make those play call sheets. So and it's all categorized based on situation. So third
Mm-hmm.
and 3 to 6 yards, we're doing
Mm-hmm.
one of these. Well, because of the week that was, he didn't have time to make his play call sheet and just had to use the Eric Kiesau one. Had to familiarize himself with where things are on the go. There was a picture Auburn's athletic photographer put out where he's like in a timeout behind the medical tent, just like studying it. Looks like he's cramming for a test. And just because that was the hand they were dealt.
Yeah.
And I thought he called a pretty good game still, even with that. So that's just like one of those little things that they'll have this week to be able to go through a normal routine. Probably got even working on it like today, of like developing his own thing that he can be ready for. And I just, when I think about all the little things that the staff had to deal with, this makeshift staff put together had to deal with in a short time, and for them to actually produce, I'm like, wow, they worked their tails off. And that, I know a lot of people have their own opinions about Will Friend and other
Mm-hmm.
coaches on this staff, but they fought and they worked really hard this week, just as hard as the kids did, and didn't quit. And it impressed me for sure.
The Will Friend criticism stems mainly from us needing offensive linemen, and they have not arrived in the sense that most people thought we would. I still believe there's a lot of context lacking from that discussion, that people are just operating off emotions. You have a roster full of seniors and juniors, and you think surely. And listen, if any of you guys see this, we're not trying to be mean, but it's It is what it is. It has the job hasn't gotten done on a consistent basis for years now. You would think, though, that the odds are they would have gotten it together as a unit, even as individuals, in this last year for most of them. And so you don't really need to go to the portal as much in their minds. I'm
Yeah.
not saying, obviously, in hindsight, probably the better decision would have been to, but you could understand at the time there's not necessarily the space when you could have, filled those with other roles that were lacking at the time. Wide receivers, got out and got some playmakers that we're starting to utilize, which is interesting now. It's interesting how things change on that once we change things over. But yeah, look, Wilfred, he's not been perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but he is far from the biggest problem that this staff has had. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Texas A&M is the biggest bust in the SEC. Arkansas close second. We're the second one. I hate to say it. Yeah, that's
This
Arkansas.
week's game is for the bottom, folks.
It is. Yeah, listen, we are feeling good right now with Caddy as leader. Let's not mince words here. We are the bottom, and it can change in 3 games. It could absolutely change.
Now, she did say bust too. Like there might have been some people who were
But
expecting
that
kind
is
of a
correct. So let me take
yeah.
that back. So she's probably even typing now. That's not what I meant.
She is, yeah. Expectations, yeah.
Yes, there we go. There we go. So yes, in terms of expectations, they are the bust. Now
For sure.
it depends on how you talk to for Auburn people. There were some people that were like telling people, don't buy into Auburn's going to be a bust this year. And I love those people, but they were wrong. I was wrong. Austin, we got to get you back on the grades live stream. Austin has a standing invitation whenever he wants to. What we've tried to do this year is kind of spread the love out and get different voices. Because I know you were joking, Corey, but it still hurts me that y'all are tired of seeing and hearing me, just me all the time. So I am working hard to kind of find niches for people within their schedules. Austin knows that he has a standing invitation for whatever he wants to be on.
I
So
love doing grades. I loved
yes,
doing the grades. It was fun. Even when I would like have my dog screaming in the background and be running in the door at times. And yeah, grades are fun. I think Ben King has done a phenomenal job though.
Captain Plainsman himself, man. I'll be interesting to see if he downs the Captain Plainsman persona this week.
No shot. No way. It will be amplified if any more possible.
Yes, it will be. So don't miss that tomorrow. It will be a lot more fun of a grades live stream tomorrow at a different time. Again, reminder, an hour earlier at 7 p.m. Eastern time, followed after the basketball game. So basically, my night is going to start at 7 here Eastern time and run till probably 11 o'clock of just Auburn. Auburn. Of course, that's my day every day. So what am I talking about?
What more could you ask for?
What more could I ask for? All right, we have been on for an hour and change, folks. Thank y'all so much for being here, hanging out with us, spending some time with me and Austin. We always enjoy Sunday nights with y'all. It's a nice refresher, palate cleanser at times. This week was just full of excitement, though, to talk about. And listen, don't want to miss next week. Tell a friend, be here, because we're going to win or lose. When Caddy runs out of that tunnel, I might be in tears. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. I will admit it. You can take my man card if you would. I will gladly give over my man card for Cadillac Williams because I am so ready for that game. Austin, thank you, sir, for joining us.
As
thank
always,
you all.
I enjoy it.
Thank you all for joining us as well. And I'll see you guys tomorrow all the time, tomorrow evening for many other live streams. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle, everybody.